In Hebrew, it's pretty clear. I have some enemies, and you saved me from them. One of the things about a house dedicated to the Lord is that we can talk about enemies to our faith. Probably not helpful to personify right away, as in my kid brother, or my next door neighbor with that stupid tall fence or whatever. Probably best to start with the enemies that are forces and powers. My temptation to overspend my credit card hugely because I'm in need of satisfying myself with a bunch of stuff. That's an enemy we might have. Or the enemy of despair and depression, or that keeps me in bed and doesn't let me get the energy up to get to work. We can talk in this place. We can talk safely about the foes to our faithful life with God. And we can trust that in a place of reorientation, God has the power to control the enemies that hold us back. In fact, in this psalm, those enemies are an illness that needs healing. Whatever it is that keeps us from being full, God can restore. So the psalm gets off to a good start. It's a psalm of reorientation. And then there's a second verse, which is a kind of David telling the community, okay, this is the place where you sing praises to God. That's what I love about this congregation. Ever since the first Sunday I've been here. Yes, we have great musicians and a fantastic group of singers and a great place to sing. But this is a place where people like to sing. And do understand that at the heart of our life together, this isn't just a sort of secondary matter. Oh, let's sing a hymn. This is a primary reason for our existence. It doesn't say preach sermons to God. It says sing praises to God. Sing them out. Give thanks to God. And then it has a couple of little proverbial comments. So God's anger is just for a moment. Right. Could be a long moment, but his favor's for a lifetime. Gerald, who's playing this morning in Split Lake, Manitoba at a gospel jamboree, he notices that this is like a proverb sort of thrown into the song. God's anger is for a moment, his favor for a lifetime. Sort of something you learn in school. And or that next line that we sang rather than spoke during the recital of the psalm. How did it go? Weeping may linger for the night. Tears. How did it go? Tears flow for the night. It's interesting that in Hebrew it doesn't say tears may flow, or in the New NRSV, weeping may linger. The word that it uses for the tears is they'll bed down for the evening. Tears may bed down for the night. You know what that night's like, don't you? When the tears bed down with you. There's another sort of proverbial wisdom. Tears bed down for the night. Holy Saturday will come. Could be a long night. But in the morning there'll be joy. Now, the psalm could kind of end there. The dedication of the temple could well be in place. This is a place to come and sing about being healed. This is where you come when you've been in trouble. This is a place for people who've called upon the Lord, or need to call upon the Lord for help. But then something very interesting happens in the psalm. This is when the gospel and the stories are so powerful. And then David, great, mighty David, says, as for me, now he tells a personal story. I said in my prosperity, or how did one of the other translations put it? I was untroubled. When things, Eugene Peterson says, when things are going great. When things are going great, I said, look, nothing's ever going to shake me. My immune system's fantastic. Everybody else got the flu this winter. I'm never going to get the flu. I run, I take my vitamins, I got vegetables. I'm going to be good. I've got it made. That kind of reminds me of the church I was born into a little bit, I think. Imagine this is not just a personal story, but a communal story. Kind of 1957 in the United Church in the local presbytery, building a new church about every 3 months, it seems like, when I look at the minutes. Every annual conference meeting, adding up the new churches that came in, trying to find new ministers to fill all the new places. In our times of prosperity, we knew that other people needed healing, and we existed to tell people, when you're in trouble, you can count upon God, because tears last for the night, but the morning brings new joy. We told that story, but we were doing pretty good. And we thought, it may fall upon somebody else, but my family's got it all together, and I feel pretty good, and I'm very fortunate, I'm very blessed, and God has always been good to me. And then the text says, by your favor, O Lord, you made me as strong as a mountain. I was healthy and powerful, big church. Too bad for those other churches. Too bad for those other people. And that's very extraordinary. Very short little piece in the Hebrew. Then you hid your face. Not, then I ran away. Then I didn't keep faith. Then I screwed up. No. Then you hid your face. Suddenly no more messages from the Lord. Suddenly no more energy, Holy Spirit. Suddenly church sort of dwindling. People drifting away. No more Sunday evening services. Fewer and fewer people. The culture saying, really, God? Come on, you don't need it. And then, this classic, I think in English, beautiful, I was dismayed. Or one other translation, I was stricken. I was terrified. Or Eugene Peterson says, I fell to pieces. Nothing else than that. But all of that. You see the power of a dedication of the temple song, a dedication of the house, when David, the great king, the great poet, is able to testify. Like, yeah, and I thought I had everything together. I had a powerful preacher and theologian and politician. And then you hid your face from me. And I knew all the truth about, evening, the tears will weep for the evening, but joy will come in the morning. I knew all that, but I was dismayed. Seriously dismayed. The power of the poetry is that it doesn't say anything more than that. It just allows you to let your dismay be at the very crux and heart of the song. It's there for you to learn to sing, so that when you or I or we find ourselves cut off from the energy source of life, the one we come to sing to, face turned away for whatever reason, and full of dismay, terror, falling to pieces, which pretty well describes the mainline church in the Western world for the last 30 or 40 years. Dismayed at the absence of God, trying to convince everybody God's powerful in here, but struggling to have the confidence to say it. Never mind those of us in the midst of even this congregation who find ourselves lost and alone. And then this wonderful fourth verse. If you have really good reading glasses and you look at the very bottom of the hymn that we're about to sing, you'll notice that the fourth verse in this hymn version was added in by somebody named Calvin Searveld in 1982. That James Seddon, who translated this psalm in 1973, decided for whatever reason to leave out the fourth verse. But when the Christian Reformed Church, of which Calvin Searveld belongs to, when they sing the psalms, they have to sing every line. So they had to hire Calvin Searveld to write the fourth verse in. Because, I'm always suspicious when somebody leaves out a verse, wonder why they did that. Well, it's interesting what happens in the fourth verse. Because in the midst of the dismay of the community, here in the house of the Lord, in the midst of disorientation, the psalm says, well, to you, O Lord, I cried. To you, O Lord, I made supplication. In other words, to you, O Lord, I said, Kyrie eleison. Grant to us your peace on earth. O Lord, have mercy upon us. Confession, we need you. We turn to you. But then what they cried, it's very interesting. They didn't cry, oh, woe is us, we've been terrible, we're awful, it's all our fault. The sin has happened. The word sin really means to be separated from God. So this separation from God, we assume always is, well, it must be our fault. But notice in this psalm, it says, look, we cried to you, O Lord, have mercy upon us.